morning. My name is Margaret Wallace, and I'm with the Planning and Development Department, and we're here this morning to talk with you about recent changes to the Chapter 42 of the City of Houston's Code of Ordinances. You may be asking what Chapter 42 is. Some of you know, some of you don't. Essentially, Chapter 42 is what regulates the development of private property in the Houston area, primarily in the City of Houston and the surrounding area. It tells developers how they can build on lots, how they can subdivide lots. What it means to you today is it also sets rules about how you can divide your lot into maybe smaller areas and how far back from the street a building can sit. And I know that that's critically important to neighborhoods because neighborhoods have a character. They have a certain look to them. And many neighborhoods want to keep that look. And so we're going to talk about these two things specifically today. So in April, City Council made serious amendments to Chapter 42. Probably the first amendments in, I think it's 13 years. And they dramatically changed some of the ways that some of the basic rules for the City of Houston. Essentially, they've created one set of core rules for all development inside the loop and outside the loop. Up until this point, since about 2001, there have really been two sets of rules. There's been a set of rules for developing land inside the loop, which encouraged smaller lot development, encouraged homes on smaller lots, kind of making the city a little bit more dense as more people per acre. And then there was another set of rules for area outside the city, the 610 loop, which really established rules for larger single-family subdivision lots. Maybe the lots were 5,000 square feet. So what we think of as more traditional single-family neighborhoods. There were two sets of rules. Now there's one set of rules. So the smaller lot development that was encouraged inside the loop is now allowed outside the loop. So what does that mean to neighborhoods? Well, it did one more thing. The changes also provided expanded tools for neighborhoods to help protect themselves against that smaller lot development. If they don't care, if they don't mind the townhome development, that's perfectly fine. It can happen in their neighborhoods. But if they want to protect their single-family appearance and their character, there are now stronger ways for them to be able to do this. So we're going to talk about what could happen in your neighborhood. This is just a standard neighborhood. We've got the yellow represents all the single-family homes in this neighborhood, and the white represents vacant lots. So under the new rule, regardless of where in the city this neighborhood falls, a developer could come in, and you see the pink outline on the 3 vacant lots. A developer could come in, amass those 3 lots, and build a commercial or a multifamily unit there. This could be in the center of that neighborhood. The other thing that could happen is, this is an older neighborhood, but it also doesn't have deed restrictions. And there's a vacant lot. The red line indicates where the original house probably stood, the face of it along the street in line with the other existing homes. So this lot's vacant and this neighborhood doesn't have deed restrictions. What could, and in fact what did happen, and we're going to look at it from a different angle. That's the same vacant lot with the houses on the street. What did happen was a developer came in and purchased the lot, subdivided it into multiple lots and built and sold townhomes. If you'll notice that house on the far right is the same house we were looking at just a minute ago. So this might be great for some neighborhoods. It might not be great for your neighborhood. So what we're going to talk about today is how you can prevent this if you want to. Here's an example of a map showing kind of the same thing that happened. The light gray and these 3 large darker gray lots are all about the same size, and they've got structures on them that are about the same distance from the street. But on the right-hand side, you'll notice some of the lots are made smaller. So this is an example of when a developer's come in, subdivided a lot, and built different types of buildings on the lot other than what was traditionally there. In this neighborhood, what they've done is they've asked for a minimum lot size designation, and so everything from the left of those smaller lots now is established as minimum 5,000 square feet. Actually, it's 5,900. So that no one can subdivide those lots anymore after the ones on the far right were done. Okay, so how do you protect your neighborhood from these most recent changes? Well, first and foremost, deed restrictions. Deed restrictions often will dictate the minimum size that a lot can be in that subdivision. It also they sometimes dictate how far back from the street you can build something. If in fact your deed restrictions say that and you're certain of that, then you're done. You're protected. You don't have to worry about this at all because your deed restrictions will take precedence over Chapter 42. If you're not certain, or if you're certain that they don't, then we recommend that you come talk to our staff, and I'll give you all kinds of phone numbers and people to talk to and things to do at the end, as well as talking about the handouts. If you don't have this protection in your deed restrictions, there's two things that we're going to talk about today that great protections for you. Essentially, the minimum lot size and the minimum building line. So a minimum lot size designation is granted by the City Council, and it tells you the minimum size that any lot in your neighborhood can be. If you've got primarily 5,000 square foot lots in your subdivision, then it'll establish that as the minimum size, and nobody can come in and do some of the examples that we showed earlier. They can't come in and cut up a lot and sell it off as smaller pieces. So let's look at a different subdivision. This is all, again, the yellow is single family. There's some gray in here that's vacant. So what would happen is you would bring this map into us, you tell us what these boundaries are, and we would work with you to decide, to help determine what the minimum lot size should be, and we would work with you on getting property owner support and getting the application all ready to go to City Council, and then City Council would decide on this designation. The other thing that this minimum lot size designation would do is these gray areas, they're vacant right now. And so all of the single family and all of the vacant properties would be designated to be single family only. So it would not allow those two, maybe those two gray areas on the left-hand side that are larger. It would, if you had this designation, no one could come in and make those multifamily or make those commercial. They would be designated as having been, having to be single family. Maybe you don't have a big subdivision like that. Maybe you're just a couple blocks that are left in a neighborhood that's already been carved up a little bit. You can come in with as many as 500 lots, or you can come in with as few as one block face, which is the red area on the top, or two facing block faces, two opposing block faces, which is the area down below. We'll work with you to determine what size area you want to have designated, and then based on that size, there's a certain amount, there's a threshold of property owner support that you'll have to obtain, petitions that'll have to be signed by the property owners in your neighborhood, and we'll work with you on determining what that number is and getting the application ready to go to City Council for them to make the determination. The other opportunity that we're going to talk about is the minimum building line. And that, as I said earlier, is the distance from the street or from the property line back to where the face of the building can be. Here's an example. We've got an older home here on the left, and there's about 20 feet from the property line, which is about where the sidewalk is, 20 feet back to the face of the building on this older home. Probably the entire street was close to that when it was built originally. But in recent years, someone's come in and built a larger home, and these look like townhomes, I think, built townhomes, and they've been able to use the 2001 changes to Chapter 42 and done some other special things in order to be allowed to build that closer to the street. If you'll notice, the newer townhome is about, probably looks like it's set back 10 feet, not 20 feet. So it's a different distance from the street. So if you wanted to establish a minimum building line where no construction could be closer than that distance, what you do is you, again, come in and talk with us, and here's a street that everybody's houses are about 30, 40, I think there's a 45-foot building line. We would help determine what the minimum building line should be on this, and then we would help you again with the property owner support and getting it to City Council for their approval. And so in the future, if one of those homes was raised and somebody purchased just a vacant lot, they couldn't build it any closer to the street than what that minimum building line determines. So two very, very powerful tools that you've got to help protect the character of your neighborhood. Establishing the minimum size that a lot can be, establishing the minimum distance that a home can, or that a building can sit from the property line. They don't happen automatically. This is not something that with the changes to Chapter 42, automatically set what the existing conditions out there are the rules. You've actually got to come in and apply, and City Council has to take action in order to approve it. So what you need to do, what we need from you is for you to call us. Come in, start working on the application. We'd like you to come in and meet with us first so that we can go through the rules and the specific requirements, the thresholds of community support with you before you do the application, so you know what you'll be up against. You'll fill out the application and we'll work through getting it through council, through the Planning Commission for you, so that we can help you protect your neighborhood. We've got some handouts today. We've given you one of the applications for each. There's technically three different programs. There's two programs and one's got a little bit of a twist on it, so there's two different ways you can do it. So you've got in your packet today an application for each of those programs. You've got a one-page information sheet on what we've talked about today that you can take back to your community group or to your civic club and share that with them. And then I think we've also got for you today a list of the future meetings that we're going to hold over the next 2 months. We are going out to every area of the city over the next 2 months to help encourage people to do that. There's a little bit of a hurry on this in that when council approved those amendments a couple weeks ago, they set some implementation phases of when things actually can be implemented. And so we want to get the neighborhood support, the neighborhood character tools in place in your neighborhoods before some of those other changes to the ordinance take place. So there's a little bit of a hurry. We'd like you to come in and talk to us about it. If you've got a large neighborhood, this could take about 6 months to actually get done. So call us immediately. And so again, the handouts are the flyer that we gave, the schedule of the next meetings, and the applications. If you want additional copies of those, you can either call the Planning and Development Department, and here's the primary phone number, 713-837-7701. You can call us and ask for Kevin, or just ask the receptionist for somebody to help you with neighborhood character tools or deed restrictions information, and they'll get you to the right person. Or you can go on our website, houstonplanning.com, and on the first home page, there is a tab that says Community Sustainability, and on that tab, you'll find links to all of these forms, all of this information. Please call the 837-7701 phone number, and we'll be there to help you. Okay, thanks guys. This was good.